Hey, this is Matt once again. What about another video? This is another paid request, this time for Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1994 film Disclosure. Now, Disclosure, this is a film that, as you can see, I do have the DVD. It's one of those snapper cases that Warner Brothers did a lot back in the day. A lot of people hate this, but I actually like these. They feel sturdy. I like the snap of it. I just always liked it. I always thought it looked good on the shelf. I like the sturdiness of the top and bottom. Yeah, I like that it felt like more of a cardboard feel to the case, so it just felt sturdier. It felt, I don't know if I want to say heavier, but like I said, I always liked these cases, but apparently I'm alone in that. Now, this is directed by Barry Levinson, who directed films like Rain Man, among other movies. It's based on a Michael Crichton novel. Michael Crichton, of course, writing novels of Jurassic Park and many other novels that became movies, I should say. And when this film came out, it was a pretty decent sized hit. Although nowadays it's fairly forgotten, but it shouldn't, because while there are some goofy stuff, there is some goofy stuff about this in terms of the technology at the time, in part because the company Michael Douglas is working with deals a bit with VR technology, and it's 90s VR technology, and there's some that scene is pretty goofy, although I do like the idea behind it, but it's the execution, the effects are not. It's 94 VR. You can pretty much guess what that would showcase. The actual plot of the film, I think, is actually very prevalent in today's age. I think this is a film that deserves a bit of rediscovery in this age of the Me Too movement, but at the same time, there are men that get harassed, and then people kind of go, oh, it's not a big deal, or it's nothing, when it is a serious issue. And this is one of the few films, especially big budget films, that incorporated that story. And I think there's a lot of stuff for today's age that could be very prevalent when you watch this movie again. It's about a decent executive at this company called Digicom, played by Michael Douglas, who's a really good actor. Liked him in The Game, Black Rain, Falling Down, many other movies. He's a family man, good guy, and there's hope of getting this promotion, but someone else gets it, and it's Demi Moore's character. Because Donald Sutherland, who's the boss, as he puts it, need to break the glass ceiling. As I'm talking about, you kind of realize how this is very prevalent in today's age, where we're going to hire someone just because of their gender or other attributes in order to break a glass ceiling, not because of anything else. And so someone gets into power, and she knew Michael Douglas back in the day, and it comes to a point where she tries to seduce him, she tries to do stuff with him, and he's not fighting off at first, but ultimately he does fight off and goes, no, 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 I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. He has to fight her off eventually. I'm not going to do this. And she says, you better finish what you started or you're fucking dead. And you see a lot of moments in this film. For example, when the next day he's given a sexual harassment. He's like, I harassed her? She harassed me. And the other guy going, she jumped you? You're in denial. That's typical. Listen, you have to accept responsibility. Well, look at these scratches. What do you think that is? Well, it looks like she was forced to defend herself. Come on, a lady harassed a guy. That doesn't happen. It's this type of thing. Maybe it's a bit blunt on it, and sometimes you have to do it in a blunt way. That does affect a lot of people throughout the years, including today. And nowadays, people look at it and go, "Oh, that's so." Okay, if there's stuff that's dated, yeah, the VR stuff I'll get to, that's a bit dated. This stuff, no. No matter how these people nowadays want to say about how that's dated and oh my god, oh wow, we should feel sorry about a white guy. We should feel sorry about the marriage guy. Yeah, that does happen a lot. It's how it happens the other way too. And there's plenty of movies that showcase that, and that sadly is true where there are men in power that Harvey Weinstein, for example, that will use their power in the wrong way and hurt women. But the door swings both ways. There's also women of power that will do the same damn thing. If a guy tries to say it, they either get mocked, get made fun of, get ostracized. The guy's the victim and the woman's the pursuer. I think that's what makes this film a bit unique and prominent in today's age. And I think deserves a bit of a rediscovery because of those notions, because of that talking point. And plus the acting by Michael Douglas and Demi Moore are very good. I've always been a big Demi Moore fan, from G.I. Jane, Ghost. I always thought she was a great actress. She did a wonderful job here. I have a feeling she did this role because of Basic Instinct was pretty popular at the time. And you tell a lot of people wanted that role that Sharon Stone got. So this scene may be a bit closer to that for Demi. And not only those two, but you have a cast that includes like Donald Sutherland as the boss. Dennis Miller is in the film as one of Michael Douglas's co-workers. And Dennis Miller does have some pretty fun bits of dialogue, I will say. I'm trying to remember some of them, like, her nipples are like pencil erasers, or she doesn't give you a boner because I definitely have liftoff. You better be careful. A few years, you don't need a forklift to get that up. And like as I was watching, and it was kind of interesting to see with Michael Crichton's. It's based on his novel, and then Paul Atanasio did the screenplay. How you see some pieces of conversation that would work in today's age, like Michael Douglas's. This is before this assault happens, this harassment happens, and the group is talking. And it's like, I wonder how she died. Maybe she slept her way up top. I don't know. Maybe like a lady goes, maybe Michael Douglas did sleep his way up top. And I think Dennis Miller goes, well, that doesn't happen. That wouldn't happen. Why? Why her and not him? He's not attractive? Well, yeah, sure, Michael Douglas is attractive, but men and women are different. Which is true. How many movies have you seen of a guy sleeping his way to the top? Usually it's the woman sleeps. But I like that the lady goes, well, I mean, if she can do it, why can't he do it? You should sleep your way to the top. And she says it in like an earnest but funny way. Or about how, certain stuff about looks. Well, how does a cliche become a cliche? It becomes a cliche for a reason. So after the stuff hits the fan, and the next day he comes in, he's given a harassment suit, and he's trying to fight it off, and trying to figure out what to do next. He gets these messages, these emails from someone that tries to help him out, but is incognito, and about how his friends need to save their own butts, so like Dennis Miller and people go away to save their own hide. A little bit of cancel culture before that whole Again, this was a bit ahead of its time in terms of the story, in terms of the deeper themes of it. Very much ahead of its time. Like, again, if you change a few things about the digicom industry, because there's a bit in the movie where if you put on a VR set, you could go into some files. So there's a bit where he's looking into the dealings of Demi Moore, and he's in his VR, and he's in this virtual reality world with this figure named Angel, and there's like this weird hologram Demi Moore behind him that is like her user as she's at the computer deleting files. And that whole scene is goofy. I mean, I kind of like the idea behind it of having a VR, like an Oculus Rift nowadays, to go through files. And I mean, how many films have done that where you clicked on something, you can move it here? Kind of like what you do on a phone. Like you can move with your finger, move files. Like you can do with a phone nowadays. It just, the fake Demi Moore, like, there's some stuff that's a bit goofy about that. There's also a very goofy scene where this should have been completely taken out, where after the harassment, Michael Douglas has a nightmare that Donald Sutherland comes on to him, where they're in an elevator and Donald Sutherland's like ready to kiss seduce him, and then Douglas waits up for. I mean, right, if Donald Sutherland tried to kiss me, it'd be a nightmare that I would want to wake up from. But that just comes off as more goofy, silly than scary. That's what I mean. That could have been cut out of the movie. But the other bits and the deeper themes, I think, work well. And it for a film that's over 2 hours, it didn't feel slow. I think because of the two lead performers, and it got me interested in the story of where this was going, even though I've seen this film before. I don't know why I keep showing it. I don't know. I just force a habit. But like when he gets this lawyer, and I like the conversation between him and the lawyer, because you just see many hell, you just see whether you were talking about Amber Heard and the whole trial. Like you just see the lawyer talk to the Johnny Depp with, if you sue, it's news. If you don't, it's gossip. If you sue, nobody will believe you. If you don't, your wife won't believe you. So maybe that Johnny Depp, but like a lot of people that go through this type of situation, I like the dialogue in that. And I just see that really happening. And to repeat, if you sue, it's news. If you don't, it's gossip. If you do sue, nobody will believe you. If you don't, your wife won't believe you. And it'd be a cost of minimum of $100,000. So you don't sit there and tell me that you don't think it's a game? Which is true. Which is absolutely true. And there was a sense of authenticity to that piece of dialogue. I liked the actress they got for the lawyer. I liked her attitude, and I thought that stuff was kind of interesting. The film didn't feel slow paced. It didn't feel like it dragged, at least to me. I don't know, just a lot of stuff that I just thought worked in today's age and was prevalent in today's age. Where, yes, there's a lot of women that go through a lot of tough stuff, but there's also men that go through tough stuff, and that shouldn't be laughed at either. And that's what I mean. This film is pretty prevalent in today's age. Yeah, I like the piece of dialogue where he has with his wife, and the wife is like, "Well, just go in there and apologize." And Doug's like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I should just be that evil white male that you complain about, huh? Huh? I should just do that." No, this is wrong. What happened is wrong. She had the power. When did I have the power? And this is a guy that was a decent guy, and someone used their power over him, and he's now being thrown away, thrown under the bus, told to go to this Austin, Texas firm that was going to be dead in a month or so anyway. Now, I did find it weird watching again that that whole harassment thing kind of ends and is wrapped up with like 30 minutes left of the movie. Because the harassment was part of I guess, a bigger picture. But I wouldn't say bad. Just something I forgot about watching it again. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there's something more to this as well. And by the way, I did like Ennio Morricone's score. I thought it was kind of a unique score from him. It didn't sound like any other typical Ennio Morricone score. In particular, sort of the victory moments of the score. Like when Michael Douglas realizes, spoiler alert, the spoilers, that when he called that night, it picked up on the machine and he was able to find the tape, and the guy's like, I've been trying to reach you all week, Dad. And Dad is like ready to hug him, and that victory bit there. Also bit at the end. Like, didn't mind the score of the film. I thought it fit the film rather well. I like the bit with the lawyer talking to Demi Moore and tearing her down verbally, saying, but that tape, he said no like 30 some times. Isn't that what we tell women? No means no. Do men deserve less? No, what you showed was a woman in power can be just as abusive as a man in power. Like, that felt like refreshing to hear in today's age. And that's probably why this film would not be re-released into the masses, because it'd be labeled sexist or all sorts of other BS, when no, it's legitimate. And I thought it was a pretty entertaining thriller on top of it. I mean, I guess, yeah, thriller is the best way to describe it. Like I said, the bit that might turn people off, understandably, is, in spoilers, he's trying to find info. What you come to find out is that Demi Moore had done this thing behind the scenes with these chips. She screwed up because she does not know much about technology, because she got this job not because she was the best person for it, but because to break the glass ceiling. So she didn't know what she was doing. Which, again, that's very prevalent today's age. Just go ask Alec Baldwin for that. We hire this person because to break the glass ceiling, but she wasn't the right person for the job. There are right people for the job who happen to be female and male, but this person wasn't right for it. You hired her to check a list, not because she was the best for the job, and someone died for it. So again, that's very prevalent in today's age, but we don't want to say that because we don't want to be mean. But as he's looking for info, he's in this VR set. Like I said, that is a bit of a goofy scene in today's age, that the effects don't hold up, and you're like, why is there a fake Demi Moore? That kind of, at one point, he's, okay, imagine he's like here. Actually, okay, imagine this, but it's flipped. So, but it's just the way the camera, and then like Demi, like over here, Demi Moore kind of just passes, like, kind of comes out of frame. It like comes in the frame like this, with this like almost like one of those standees, like a digital version of one of those standees of a person. Like, remember Home Alone when Macaulay Culkin had a standee like Michael Jordan and used it to fake people out, like one of those standees, and then Demi Moore just comes. They weren't the best in terms of the technology. But disregarding that, the actual plot and story and themes, I think, work rather well. And again, refreshing in today's age. Now, I did wish there was some follow-ups to like some of their co-workers, like Dennis Miller and such, either realizing how they messed up, or I should have believed in you, or I'm sorry I screwed you over. That never comes into play, really, which is too bad. I mean, some people may scoff at the running time, but it didn't bother me too much. It was a bit over 2 hours. But I said, other than VR stuff, The other stuff was really good. I liked the presentation at the end where Michael Douglas gives Demi Moore her just desserts and proves to the audience and to the people out there just how incompetent she really was. Like I said, I think the cast worked rather well. Demi Moore is very sexy and very alluring, but she works well as this. She'd have her play Amber Heard in a documentary, or as in a biopic, I should say. I mean, I don't know if I would say it was suspenseful, but it was entertaining, and the actors made the film work rather well. So I just appreciate the story, the themes. I think there's a lot of stuff here that's prominent and prevalent today's age. I think the acting's pretty stellar. And overall, pretty good film. Disclosure. That no one really talks about. No one really mentions. And it was a box office hit, like I said, when it came out. It made a decent amount of money. So I don't know if it's on Blu-ray. Even if it is, I doubt there's much for features. But, I mean, it probably get canceled today's age. But yeah, I definitely think it's a film that's says a lot and has a lot of scenes that hold up actually pretty well today, other than the VR stuff. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.